Good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. We've got a bunch of great students on the panel with us today. We'll have everybody go ahead and introduce themselves briefly. I want to start off with a quick tech check. So if you're on and you can hear me all right, please raise your hand. Terrific, thank you. All right, so just from an operational standpoint, we're going to use the Q&A feature of the webinar tonight. That's the best way for us to kind of track questions as they come in, and that's really what tonight is all about, is getting your questions answered. So the students have a really great insight and a really great perspective on the program. I'm not the one that you want to hear from, so please feel free to send in your questions. We'll start off with some brief introductions for all the students and a little bit about the different organizations that they're part of here on campus. And then we'll just rock and roll with your questions from there. We'll go about an hour until you guys run out of questions, whichever happens first. So we've got a number of students that are calling in remotely because we're already on Christmas break here. So Martin's here with me on campus, and then as the others speak, as we go around the circle here, they should be popping up on your screen as well, so you get to see everybody in their natural home environments as well. So with that, we'll have each of the students introduce themselves and a little bit about their respective organizations that they work with here on campus, and then we'll dive in for your questions. So feel free to start shooting in the questions for the Q&A. We'll start off with Martin.
Hi, I'm Martin Cortez. I'm originally from the Philippines, and I'm involved in the establishment of the Notre Dame Mendoza LGBT and Allies Club.
All right, Matt, let's do you next.
Sure, so I'm Matt Kaufman. I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. I am the MBAA Chief Diversity Officer. So that is our student government, so I can answer any questions about that. I can also talk about the LGBT and Allies Club, which I co-founded with Martin. And I'm also the president of the Real Estate Club, if you have questions about that.
All right, thanks. Faith, let's do you next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Faith Miller. I am from Michigan. I went to USC undergrad, and right now I'm a first year, and I'm a member of the Women in Business Club. I'm also involved with Mendoza Professional Services and some volunteering that we do at the animal shelter, if you have any questions about that. But mostly here to talk to you about women in business and the experience of being a woman here at Notre Dame.
All right, terrific. Terrell, let's go with you next.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. My name is Terrell Hunt. I am originally from Washington, D.C., and I'm also a first-year MBA at Notre Dame. And I'm here to talk a little bit about the Black Graduates in Management Club. Essentially, our purpose is to elevate and celebrate the voices, the talents, and the experiences of Black graduate students at the Mendoza College of Business. So, you know, BGM hasn't been active in the last few years. So myself and several other students here, you know, we kind of rallied to get it back up and going. So we this last semester has kind of been a growing semester for us, and we got super exciting programming coming up in the next several months. So look forward to all your questions and talking to you guys in a little bit.
All right, and one more panelist for us tonight. Lily, you're up. Lily, are you there? All right, well, Lily's having, it sounds like she's having a little bit of technical difficulty here, so we'll get her sorted out and get her going here on the panel as we go along. Go ahead and get those questions headed in here. We'll kick off with our first question here. Is religion a factor in either admissions or on campus? Are minority religions accepted? So I'll give the admissions part of that answer, and then we'll kick it back into the panel here to get some student perspective on it. So it's not a factor from an admissions standpoint. We have students that come from a lot of different faith traditions or no faith tradition at all. It's not something that we look at. specifically as you're going through the application process, and it's not something that gives any weight one way or another. We do have students that come from all over the country and all over the world, so there are a lot of different backgrounds that are represented from that standpoint. And it's very much a university that focuses on being a welcoming environment, being a place where you can think about your faith and your spirituality in whatever way that means to you. Obviously, there's a very strong Catholic identity with the university, but it's not something that you don't feel like you need to be Catholic to be here, and it's definitely not something that comes in from an admissions standpoint. Let's hear from one of our current students on this as well. Who wants to jump in and kind of start with either religion or kind of faith in general in your student experience so far?
I can talk about being not a Catholic here at Notre Dame, and there are definitely a lot of opportunities to go to Mass if you are Catholic. And for me, it's been really interesting to learn more about the Catholic faith and how people practice the Catholic faith. But I've also been to Diwali celebrations and other cultural celebrations. So really, if you are coming from a minority religion, you are welcome to come in and then teach everybody here about your cultures and your traditions and your faith. It's a very welcoming community, and all the students are very, very open to learning about the backgrounds and perspectives of everybody who's here.
And Joe, I can jump in really quickly as well. I mean, just to piggyback off of what Faith has already said. I mean, the community that we've got here is super opening and super welcoming. I know many of the people that I've met here who I've become, incredibly close with. They're Muslims, they're Jewish. I know last week one of my really good friends, Hardel, he led a team to one of the Sheikh schools here in South Bend. And Faith, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember one of the things that we did during orientation was go to a Catholic Mass that was organized by the business school, and a large percentage of us, we'd never been to a Catholic Mass. So faith is super important to a lot of us, but because of the people that Notre Dame draws, we learn from each other, and and it's an incredibly diverse number of folks who believe in a wide array of religions and all that good stuff. So I say it's been helpful and insightful for me just to be here and kind of discover and do a bunch of different things and when it comes to religion.
All right. So next question, we've got a little bit of a follow-up on this. Do you think that the morals and ethical values coming from a religious education carry into the MBA program and prepare you to use that value system in the workplace? Let's throw that up to some of our second-year students here as they're a little bit closer to coming into the workplace. Martin, do you want to start us off with that?
The way the foundational ethics course was taught to us is in a secular manner. Although there's a specific item there about Catholic social teaching, but in general, it is taught in a secular manner. That's one. Secondly, there's also one course called Spirituality of Work, and I think it's largely related to the Catholic teaching. Now, how does it translate to your work? I think it's, since most of this are taught and explained in a secular manner, I think it focuses more on ethics rather than religion. So ethics can be at the point of what are your core beliefs, and those core beliefs need not be related to, let's say, Catholic teaching, and sticking to that core belief is just as important as sticking to your skills. So I think that's the takeaway there, that in fact the first week of your classes here, you'll be in the integrated leadership development, and I can say that it's basically 50% determining what is your ethic, what are your limits, what makes you tick with regard to your work. And that is the foundational that's the foundation of how you'll be in your work starting now. And how did I apply it in work? So during my internship, I was in a consulting internship, and we basically at some point had to make some judgment on some aspects that you can say are some aspects that can be viewed as corrupt that is done by other competitors, and you have to make a judgment on whether we will. This is something that that our client must emulate or must try to have some watered down version on it. And I spoke strongly against some of those, and eventually it was considered in the recommendation. So I think it's about preparing you to stand up for your beliefs and your values during your work. That's the main idea behind the teaching of ethics at Notre Dame.
All right, so we'll jump into another question here. This is going to be for everybody on the panel to give a little perspective on some of the specific organizations that you work with. Matt, we're going to go ahead and start with you and speak kind of from a full government standpoint, and then we'll get specifically into the different organizations. So our question is, what type of programming and experiences do the organizations provide for students in the community here at Notre Dame? And what are some of the best ways that allies can support these respective organizations? So Matt, let's...
Sure, so I can talk a little bit about that. So we, in terms of, I can talk in terms of diversity, we have a couple of different clubs. So the Women in Business Club, Black Graduates in Management Club, LGBT and Allies Club, the Asian MBA Club, and then the Hispanic MBA Club. And they each sort of in a decentralized way run their own events. And if people are on the call that want to talk about those events and programs, that would be awesome. And in my role in student government, we sort of support those groups. So this year, Terrell restarted the Black Graduates in Management Club, which I think speaks to if you're a student here and you're interested and you have the initiative to start something or restart something that used to be here, it can definitely happen. And there's a lot of people who want to help you. And I think it's a really collaborative place. And then Martin and I also started the LGBT club, which is just sort of going through the process of getting approved through the university. And so the MBAA has been able to sort of sponsor that initiative. And so I just want to emphasize that it's a really collaborative environment, and we're all here to like help each other in whatever things that we're trying to get done for the school and for our peers here.
Thanks, Matt. So let's have just kind of a quick word from each of kind of the subgroups on, you know, some of the specific events that you might have worked with, or, you know, for people that are, you know, don't identify in your group, what's the best way to be an active and engaged ally? Faith, let's start with you for Women in Business.
All right, so Women in Business is both a social club and then also a club that organizes events that help women face the unique challenges that we will face in the business world. So for example, we have had wine nights and where we just sort of networked with each other, got to know each other. And then more recently, I went to a negotiations class where one of the professors who teaches an entire negotiations course gave us a presentation on what women need to do differently, at least historically, to negotiate jobs and job offers. So that was very interesting, and that's a lot of what Women in Business do. We also send a group of people to the Forte conference, if you're interested in that, over the summer. That's a conference for all women MBAs, prospective MBAs, and that was really interesting. I went to that last summer. There's a lot of networking with companies there. And as far as being an ally, we actually just had our first man ambassador start this year. So we are trying to involve men in more of our events, and they are welcome to come to any of our events. It's not exclusive in any way, because we definitely recognize that men and women have to work together to build a more diverse culture in business.
All right. Thanks so much. Terrell, let's go for you next. With the club kind of coming back online, talk a little bit about some of the activities that you either got on tap or have already taken.
Yeah, absolutely. So community service, I know that was one of the original points of the question. Community service and impacting, this city, which is, new to all of us, has been super, super important. So that's one of our main pillars of impact that we've tried to really focus on this last semester, and in the semesters coming up. I know we hosted a toy drive for the Boys and Girls Club here in South Bend. We were able to collect dozens and dozens of toys for underserved kids here in South Bend who likely would have gone without this holiday season, just to make them feel special, which was a great success for all of us. And I know we're also going to do a day of service on the Martin Luther King holiday in this upcoming January. So community service is going to be something really, really important to BGM. Social support is also one of our main pillars of impact. We recently had a Friendsgiving where we invited friends to come over, and we had good food, and we had, we just kind of unwinded after the end of the semester, which was much, much needed. Academic wellness is also super important to BGM. We hold study halls. We circulate notes to each other. We kind of we really pride our group in being a place that you can kind of be vulnerable with each other, where you can go in and say, hey, I really didn't understand what went on in class. Can you teach me in this? I know I'm really good in this class. I know you're really good in this class. Academic wellness has been one of the things, one of the most amazing things that has come out of BGM this last semester. I think we truly made everyone better by sharing, by uplifting each other, and by making sure that we were accountable to each other when it came to being the best students that we can be. And in terms of allies, actually, almost half of our membership at the moment doesn't identify as Black or African American. I mean, it's incumbent on us, and I think we do this fairly well. We encourage anyone and everyone who is interested in our mission, who wants to do good work in the community, who wants to enhance their professional development skills. We invite everyone to come out. We operate under the assumption that Terrell's success is Faith's success, and Faith's success is Matt's success, and I think we do that to great success. So, BGM again is fairly new this year, but I think we've got pillars of impact, and we've got a program of events that we think are going to go to make not just us better, but make our entire cohort of MBAs better.
Terrific, thanks. All right, let's bring it back here and go with Martin next for LGBT and allies.
So LGBT and allies, we're still in the process of creation of the club, but the activities that we're looking at in the next semester would be more of in-line with community service, particularly partnering with a local organization here, so that we can have volunteers from our club go and have something related to LGBT awareness, LGBT alliance and a straight alliance, so that it becomes, maybe we can look at possible ally trainings and community service to LGBT individuals in South Bend. Another thing that we did in October was to participate in RUMBA. RUMBA is an umbrella organization for affiliated LGBT clubs for MBA organizations all over the United States and some in Europe also. It was the 20th year of RUMBA, and it was a well-attended one. Two key speakers who were there were Anderson Cooper and Martine Rothblatt. So it's something that is a big boost to LGBT individuals, since it's also a career fair, and a lot of the firms go there and maybe the ratio of recruiter to LGBT individuals about 1:10, which is one of the best ratios you can see for a lot of the MBA job fairs.
All right, and we do have another panelist that did join us who got through the technical issues. So let's have you do a quick introduction as well, and if you want to jump right into some of the programming for your club as well, that'd be great.
I'm Huan Zhang. I'm currently president of Asian MBA Club, and right now I'm second year MBA. I'm glad to join you guys. So a quick introduction about myself. Right now my concentration is corporate finance and marketing. I did my summer internship at HP doing the marketing. So any questions about my club or anything about marketing, please feel free to ask me. Thank you.
All right, terrific. Let's jump into our next question here. Talking about priorities a little bit, in terms of ranking priorities, where have you spent the most time during your MBA experience at Mendoza? Networking, classwork, on-campus recruiting, clubs or organizations? Let's just do kind of a quick hit for everyone. Juan, let's start with you, and then we'll kind of cycle through everybody else again.
Sure. So first of all, networking. I think one big thing for MBA is really to balance your time. When you get inside the program, you really need to hit the ground running. So for me, I think for the first year, I spent at least 40% of my time looking for internship and trying to networking with the companies and alumni. So at first, to be honest, it's kind of you may feel a little bit overwhelmed, but as you move on, you appreciate this experience. It really makes you to maximize your resources, your time, to make you to fully help you to uncover your potential. So during the first year, I appreciate. So looking back, I think I really. What benefit me most is to make schedule every day, to follow up with the people I talked to, and finally help me to get the internship that I really want. So I strongly recommend you once you get inside the program, you need to start out early to plan your schedule, to figure out what you want to do, and then to spend a lot of time networking. So, yeah, that's my advice.
All right. Let's add in another perspective here as well. Matt, how about you? From kind of ranking on-campus priorities across classwork, networking, recruiting, clubs and organizations, kind of how have you spent your time in the program so far through a year and a half?
Sure. So I would add social life on there. It's also an important one. But I don't know. I think I probably if networking and jobs are separate, I would combine them and say I spent a lot of time doing that last year. Probably not so much this year. This year I focused more on school, social life, and clubs and organizations. I think one thing you have to be pretty careful about is jumping into too many things. So that's something I probably did my first year, and now I have a lot of outside of class responsibilities, which is good in many ways, but it also does require some time. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
All right, terrific, thanks. Let's jump into another question here real quick. Faith and Terrell, we'll get opinions from both of you on this one. So the question is, politics aside, in an era where this country is fairly divided, what's the vibe on campus currently? What are some examples that you've seen of students of diverse backgrounds working together on a team? to solve either complex challenges either within kind of the program itself or within the community at large. So say Faith or Terrell, whoever wants to go first here.
All right, I can start. I have to say I was a TV reporter before this, so definitely got pretty in the thick of the political division of the last year, but the people at Notre Dame are so genuinely kind and understanding. This is one of the nicest places I've ever been. There are political and personal religious differences, different backgrounds, but people are very understanding of them, and they actually are curious about them and curious in a nice way, not of like a challenging way. So there are political discussions. There are, so we get assigned to teams at the beginning of the year, and then you spend your whole first semester, so the first 2 mods, working with those people in your team on all of your group projects. So in my group, one of the men is Jewish and bisexual. One of the women is from Uganda, so she's an international student. One woman is, she's half Guatemalan, so she speaks Spanish. And then there's me. And then there's one other guy, he's a JD MBA, so he's studying law and MBA. But the 5 of us have worked together wonderfully. It's never, ever, ever been an issue, the different backgrounds that we have. In fact, it's just enriched the projects that we've been able to do together. So I think that's something that Notre Dame tries to do when they're putting together the groups, is get people from all different, not just like backgrounds as far as a resume, but also backgrounds in perspective.
Terrific. Terrell, how about a little bit from you next?
Yeah, I mean, Faith, she said it all right there. I mean, the conversations, they do happen, and there are differences, but I sincerely and genuinely say most of the people in my cohort, they are truly my family. We have these discussions, and they're not to denigrate or to offend. They are truly to understand. And I think because of, a lot of the conversations that we've had, whether it's about, climate around, race, climate around, sexual orientation, around politics and all that good stuff, I know it has, it has enriched me. And I truly think that it has, gone a lot of ways to enriching to others and, the larger cohort. Faith, she hit the nail on the head when she talked about the way that they, set us up in our core groups. In my group, there's me, a Black man. He never lived in a city, with less than 500,000 people in it before. We have a man from Belarus. We have a guy from South Bend who's lived here all of his life. We have a young lady who served in the Coast Guard for several years, and we have another young lady who has who's from Texas and who has never left the South, and spending countless hours, doing work together for the classes that we've had together, and having some really, tough, difficult conversations about the state of the world and, how we see our, individual places in it. It has gone a long way to again, not just making us better as individuals, but making us as a class. And, I think the admissions team deserves a lot of credit for bringing those types of people in here who treat each other with, kindness and respect, and who can still have differences at the day. I just think it's, pervasive throughout the entire cohort. And, I think, anybody else on this panel and anybody else who currently goes here and who's currently one of the programs would definitely agree with that.
Thanks, Terrell. And I'll second that from the admissions perspective too, that, we're very much looking for students that come from a wide range of backgrounds that are going to bring a lot of unique experiences and diverse perspectives into both the classroom and just the community environment. Fit's something that's very important for the program. It's a relatively small program, and it's always had a very strong sense of community. And so having people that are going to be active and engaged with the community and with each other is very important. It's something that we look for a lot. So, all right, let's grab a couple more questions here. let's talk about some exciting opportunities you've had to spend time with your classmates out of the classroom. So what's some outside of the box stuff that you've gotten to do for social activity, or maybe not so social activity? Right, let's start with you.
Well, outside of the classroom, I think the biggest social activity will have to be football. It starts on tailgate and then up to the game and then after the game. So for me, that's the most memorable social activity we've done outside the classroom. What else? For a lot of the people here, I think most of us, especially during the winter, would like to find some ways to get out of South Bend because of the snow here and just how cold it can get here. So some people take vacations in the south during this time. But yeah, but for me, I think it's really the biggest social activity outside of the classroom, aside of the school, would be football during the fall.
All right, let's get one or two more perspectives on that. Juan, why don't you give us your perspective as well?
Sure. So I think I agree with what Martin say. Football is a big thing, but the next big thing, I think during the spring and also the summer, the weather in South Bend is fantastic. That's I enjoy going outdoor. We have a Potato Creek. It's a park, so it's not far away from the campus. So our club sometimes organize the outdoor barbecue and kayaking. You can do a lot of outdoor activity. It's pretty fun. And also Chicago is pretty close. So during the Sunday, I will drive to Chicago to go shopping, and sometimes doing some networking activity there. So overall, I think you won't feel very boring here, especially in the winter, because I came from the southern part of China. I've never seen snow before. So here I think, wow, it's so beautiful in the winter. So I feel so excited. For you guys who haven't seen living in the southern part, I think the winter is really a very nice experience for you guys. So yeah.
Terrific, thanks. That's actually kind of a nice segue into our next question here. We have an international student that wants to know what it's like for students that are interested in getting jobs in Chicago. How does the university help with that? What are kind of some good avenues for that? So if you want to kind of start there, and then we'll get another opinion on this too.
Okay, so I think for international, because personally, I didn't specifically look for a job for Chicago, but I do have friends who are targeted at Chicago. Right now, because Notre Dame is pretty close to Chicago, we have a strong alumni network in Chicago. Basically, you can reach out them through LinkedIn, and also Notre Dame has a Chicago campus. I think the best way for me to reach out alumni in Chicago is from LinkedIn. So I send them messages. Some of them are really nice, and you can invite them for a coffee chat. I think many of them would be happy to do that. And another thing, another advantage for Notre Dame students is because the location. So it's not hard for us to get to Chicago to talk to those companies. And also I think our consulting club did a good job in organizing students for the job opportunities in Chicago. They have the one-day consulting trip thing to basically organize the consulting club students to visit the firms, the consulting firms in Chicago, for example, McKinsey, Deloitte, and EY in Nemeth. So that's really a good opportunity for students who are interested in finding a job in Chicago. So I think another big thing is you should take initiative at first to reach out to these opportunities. I think if you really want to find a job in Chicago, you will finally get there. So.
All right, terrific. Thank you. So I'm not sure if anyone on the panel is married here, but the question here is, we'd like to know a little bit about initiatives for family inclusion. If there's not anybody that wants to speak to this directly, I'm happy to as well. But if anybody has a spouse and wants to speak about that, feel free to jump in. No? Okay. So I'll kind of ended up, the program is actually about 20% students that will come in with a spouse. And a lot of students that are married also have children as well. So there's a couple different resources for those groups. The Family Life Committee kind of spearheads and organizes that, and that's usually headed by a couple that's here. So, you know, the student and their respective spouse kind of spearhead that together, and there are a lot of different opportunities really to try and build that family level inclusion. You know, they do events kind of periodically throughout the year that are kind of a little bit more structured that any student can get involved in. They had a gingerbread house making party before one of the basketball games last week, and then everybody got a ticket to the basketball game. You know, things like that, just to get everybody kind of involved in the program and part of the community. The spouses usually have a really good network amongst each other as well, so there's definitely some good opportunities to engage there. And then also from kind of an overall standpoint, the graduate school has additional resources that are outside of the college specifically that you can tap into for spouse considerations as well. So I guess that was the one box that we didn't check here on the panel. So make do with my answer.
You forgot to mention football tickets. That's what matters.
What's that?
They get football tickets too, so they can go.
Spouses get football tickets. Absolutely.
I'll add from the MBAA perspective that the Family Life Committee has the second largest budget. So it's definitely something that we value, and they really do a lot of events. And I think we can definitely probably put you in touch with that person if you want to learn more.
Terrific. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that really quickly, Joe, I mean, you know, as students, you know, we really do embrace the spouses, and we make sure that they feel welcome, and we make sure, you know, they get involved in all of the, you know, activities and all that good stuff that we do. I mean, just for one really quick example, I mean, one of the gentlemen in my core group, he welcomed his first baby. Him and his wife welcomed their first baby boy a few weeks into the program. We got them, you know, a bunch of gifts. We held, you know, a little party for them. So we truly do understand that, you know, family is super important, and we try to integrate that with everything we do and make everybody, your extended family and all that good stuff, welcome with all that we do here.
Terrific, thanks. Next question, Matt, this one's for you. I've got a specific question for LGBT Club. How many members are you looking at this point? And what does kind of a club meeting schedule look like? Is it something that's periodic, or is it more kind of event driven?
Sure. So we are just actually sort of in the process of starting this club, so we haven't had that many events. We had at the beginning of the semester a meeting to sort of kick off the club, and we organized some committees to work on our founding documents to submit to the university. And then we also organized the trip to the Ramba conference that Martin was talking about. And next semester, I'm actually really excited about this. We are having, we're going to have an ally training, and that speaks to sort of how many people are in the club. So we probably have like 3 openly LGBT folks who are participating in the club, but then we have, I think, about 30 allies who are really interested in supporting the work of the club and are involved.
All right, terrific. So we'll have this next question out for everyone. So just kind of a quick thought here from everybody as we go around. What do you think the university or the college specifically could improve on as it relates to diversity? Martin, why don't you kick us off here?
The hardest question, right?
Putting you on the spot.
I think that the challenge last year was, I think, improving the numbers and the viewpoints from women and from people of color. Those are the biggest, let's say, the pain points from last year, and I think that was it's a big improvement on both fronts with the current first year cohort. That's one. Number two, I think with regard to international students, I think most of the international students currently come from Asia and from South America. I think we can expand more with regard to diversity from people from other areas of the world. And third, I think, and this is why we built the organization also for LGBT, and we understand that since we're a Catholic organization, the Catholic school, that becomes a trepidation for some students. However, starting 2012, there was a pastoral letter from Father Jenkins, the president of the university, which basically said that LGBT individuals are accepted and they should be celebrated. That's one. And number two, just earlier this year, they have a dedicated associate director for LGBT who handles all programming, all activities related to LGBT individuals in Notre Dame. So that's a big step, and a person who basically is an advocate for everyone, and a permanent position for that matter. So I think we're making large strides with regard to that, but I think there's still a lot of runway basically for that.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. Let's want to make sure everybody gets the chance to contribute on this one. Terrell, how about you next?
Yeah, for sure. I think, I guess at the college level, one of the things that I think everybody on the panel can attest to is that it's really, really hard to get out of Mendoza. You know, you have out of the building, that is.
I think we might have lost Terrell.
We got things for are like, for example. Can you hear me? You hear me okay?
Yeah, sorry, you froze for a second there.
Oh, sorry about that. So I'll start over. I think everybody on the panel can agree that it can get really, really difficult sometimes to get out of the business. You know, we have classes and we have you know, all these different things going on, and we can really get siloed. And I think it's important for both people on the staff level and students as well to reach out across campus and really engage those other, you know, student groups who are trying to do like things and who want to get programming and stuff off the ground. Like, for example, I know the Black Graduates in Management Club, we have sister clubs in the law school and in the greater graduate school. And, you know, just like us, they can be siloed sometimes. And, you know, they're looking to do a lot of the you know, different new programming that we're trying to too. So, you know, coming together, collaborate, share ideas, share resources, and all that good stuff, I think will be a really, really good thing. And, you know, I think that it's important for organizations like the ones that we're representing here to exist, to you know, be marketed in a really, really you know, front-facing way, to say, you know, when you have prospective students who are you know, looking to come here, and, you know, they can see that there's a Women in Business Club, which sends a very clear signal that this is a place cares about, that is invested in the success of women, of people who identify as LGBT, as people who identify as African American. I think continuing to elevate these clubs, continuing to making sure that we have opportunities to put on programming that is meaningful and, you know, impactful to the people in which we're trying to serve, and making sure that you know, we are you know, well supported is super, super important, I believe.
Terrific. Faith, how about you next?
All right, so one of the things that I would like to see change is more female professors, but I think that that starts right here at this level of prospective MBAs. So women who are considered, women first have to get their MBA and then go through into business to become female professors, because this is a problem throughout the world. If there are not enough female MBAs and there are not enough then women who can go back and teach new MBAs. So I would like to see the women who are considering MBAs right now go out and get one and then come back and teach the next generation. But I think that's kind of a long-term plan.
We'll definitely work on that. Hopefully that goes a little faster than it sounds. All right, Matt, how about you?
Sure. So I just took this class called Change Communication. We had our final exam last week, and one of the things that we talked about in that class was creating a sense of urgency. And I think at Notre Dame, it's, you know, it started out as an Irish Catholic university serving mostly white men, and I think to sort of transition to be more diverse and inclusive, they need to create a stronger sense of urgency. Another thing we learned in that is to build a strong guiding coalition, and there just aren't a whole lot of people who with a lot of influence working on diversity and inclusion at the university level, and I think that's something that could change. With that said, I think the MBA program is incredibly inclusive and welcoming, and it's a great place to be.
All right, thanks, Matt. And last but certainly not least, well, let's hear from you as well.
Sure. So I think my biggest impression for diversity, to be honest, first of all, is the number of female MBA. I remember for my year, for the class of 2018, I think we don't have a lot of female students, but this year, I think we are, Northern is making a big progress right now. They are having, I forget the exact number, but it's somewhere close to 30%. It's actually, I think our program is moving to a very well direction. But since we are a relatively small program, I think our ladies know each other very well, and we are very supportive of each other. We really have we have women in business club. So so I think right now we are, as Matt mentioned, we need to have a sense of urgency, and I have confidence in our program. I think diversity will be better and better. And right now we are for students from different groups. We have class for Asian MBA, we have class for Hispanic, and all sorts of different clubs. You can join these clubs based on your interest. So right now, I think we are on the right track. So yeah, I have confidence in our program.
All right, terrific. Thanks, everybody. We'll shift gears a little bit here, and we'll get perspectives from one or two people on this question. How do you afford the Mendoza MBA? So in terms of kind of living style and financial support, I'll start from an official admissions standpoint. So the program does offer merit-based fellowships. Those can range anywhere from $10,000 all the way up to full tuition plus a living stipend. The incoming class this past year, 86% of students received a fellowship of some kind, and the average award for those fellowships was just under $30,000 a year. So that helps a lot from that standpoint. Well, let's get one or two student perspectives too, in terms of kind of just general cost of living. And obviously it's a big consideration to go from having a paycheck to not having a paycheck, and paying to go to school and paying for your living expenses. So let's get a couple perspectives on kind of what that's like. Terrell, let's start with you from that standpoint, and give a little perspective on making that jump from the workplace into paying for school.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was. I'm coming from Washington D.C., so it was a pleasant surprise. You know, all of the prices for rent and, you know, all of that good stuff here in South Bend. I mean, knowing that you want to come back to business school while you're still you know, working on that good stuff, and you know, being able to budget and save money is going to be super, super important. And I think that the cost of living here in South Bend is you know, affordable based on, you know, where I'm coming from. Like Joe had already said, you know, a lot of us here, you know, have been, you know, afforded some fellowship of some kind, and almost everyone of the folks in our cohort who wanted a job on campus has gotten it. So whether that's, you know, being a TA, whether that's, you know, working at the Performing Arts Center, you know, taking, you know, punching tickets and all that good stuff. If you know, campus is ripe with opportunities to make some money on the side. So you know, being able to I guess save a little before you get here. And you know, kind of take a look at, you know, what are some of maybe the opportunities you want to take in terms of employment when you first get here are going to be super important. But you know, again, not to belabor the point, I think if you know, working kind of a part-time job or something like that is something that you wanted to do, I think campus is right for those kinds of opportunities. And you know, you can certainly get you know, live comfortably here for relatively cheap.
All right, terrific. Thanks, Terrell. And I'll say from a former student perspective too, for someone that's been out for a couple of years, you know, there can be a fairly significant expense, but generally speaking, the ROI and the repayment on any loans that you'll take out goes pretty quickly. You know, I'd say the vast majority of my classmates who were 5 years out from graduation at this point, the vast majority of us have loans that are paid off and are at significantly higher earning levels than we were pre-MBA. So don't forget, it's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in your future. So yeah, it may be a little lean in kind of those 2 years, but you'll end up in a good spot at the end of it. So, all right, next question. Faith, I'm going to put you on the spot for this one for a couple of reasons. So we've got a question about our new dual degree program for business analytics, pros and cons. So a little context for folks that aren't as familiar with the program. This is something that is launching this year. So we had our first cohort come in, and the first semester for the dual degree program is actually the same as the regular MBA program. So we had, so all of the students have kind of gone through the exact same coursework so far, but in terms of kind of balancing some of those considerations back and forth, what are some of the things that went into your thought process, Faith?
So I applied into the MSBA program because I see that definitely, and companies are very interested in it because big data and figuring out what to do with all of their data and how to make intelligent decisions with it is something that pretty much every company is struggling with right now. So it is a very critical skill set. Wow, that really escaped me. So it is a good opportunity, but I ultimately decided to then get back out of the program, which I was able to do in the first semester because, as Joe said, it is the same exact classes for MBAs and MSBAs, is because there are a few limitations. Because it is 2 master's degrees in 2 years, you can only travel internationally during your last interterm. So interterm is 1 week in between mods 1 and 2. So it comes right before fall break in the fall and then right before spring break in the spring. MBA students have opportunities to go on immersions in China or in South America, and also other opportunities like classes that take them for international travel. So that was a big change that they had. It used to be that you couldn't do any international travel, but now they've opened it up to traveling internationally in the last, so between mods 3 and 4 in your second year. It also really sets you up if you're very interested in working with data, which I thought I wanted to do, and then I realized that I'd rather work more with people and relationship building. So was really the decision for me, that it wasn't ultimately going to be as beneficial for the career path that I ended up choosing, because before I came into my MBA, I thought I knew what I wanted to do, but I was wrong. So there is that freedom if you decide that it's not right for you. But I definitely think that if you are interested in business analytics, it looks really good and gives you a really deep dive into figuring out how to make the management decisions that have to come out of the big data that companies are collecting now.
Terrific. And one thing I'll add on to that as well, from specifically for any international students that are out there that are considering it, the dual degree program also comes with an official STEM designation, so that does have implications for visa extension on the back end. So you can apply for an additional 2 years of OPT with a STEM designated degree. So that's definitely kind of something that's been very attractive. We ended up with a final cohort for this new program of 25 in the first class, and my guess is we'll probably have more or less a similar number in the incoming class next year as well. So, you know, from a timing standpoint, it runs kind of the same time as the rest of the program. So it's you'll be with your same cohort that you start with the whole time. But as Faith mentioned, very, very rigorous from the analytics standpoint. All right, we've got just a couple minutes left here, so I want to hit on one or two more questions. There are a couple questions out on the board here that if we don't get to, I'll close the loop by text before we turn off. But I want to have one final question here, and then we'll close with each of the panelists just saying what their favorite part of the Notre Dame experience so far has been. So I'll let you think about that for a second while we ask one other question here. Has anyone taken a class outside of Mendoza or worked with students from other graduate programs, either on a project or just getting to know them personally, or some other kind of project? I'm going to just open that up, and whoever wants to jump in.
I can do that. So,
all right.
So for, I've worked with a number of PhD students in two aspects. First is the consulting club. I'm also part of the consulting club, and those people who want, those PhD students who do not want an academic or research career after their PhD, many of them want to pursue consulting, so we work with them in terms of helping them with their case interviews and also helping us be better quantitatively. So we've had some success placing them for consulting roles and internships. So that's one. Number two, we also work with them in some case competitions. So last year, we worked with a PhD student from the electrical engineering department to produce an idea for a startup that would help the New York Power Authority to reduce dependence on fossil fuels, but also improve the congestion during peak hours. And the third thing I must add is with regard to the LGBT organizations here, we coordinate our activities so that whenever there are speakers from, let's say, the Graduate Student Union or from the Law Legal Forum, they're able to invite us and also have some networking there. So those are the three ways that I've interacted with them. But apart from that, I have good friends from the other PhD programs, because we have the ND International organizes some social activities, and in fact, just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had this impromptu gathering where potluck also from many PhD students plus MBA students during the Miami game. So that's something that those are the ways that we actually interacted with the graduate students here in Notre Dame.
All right, terrific. So we'll wrap up now with everyone. Favorite part about the program to date. Juan, let's start with you. No.
I think she's in mute.
Okay, sure.
There
Sorry.
we go.
So I think there are 3 big things for me up till to this point. The number one is for international students is to get you comfortable to work with people from different cultural background and also professional background. Right now, I remember the first day when I came to this program, I feel a little bit unsure about how my next 2 years is gonna be, but as time moves on, I feel more and more confident and comfortable working with people who are very different from me culturally or professionally, and to learn to listen to their, try to understand their ideas from their perspective, and try to learn to make your point heard effectively by others. That's something you really need to learn and to work on. The second thing is, I think Notre Dame prepares me well for my future career, both qualitative and quantitative. My favorite class is leadership, and the professor is fantastic. He teach leadership in a way make you feel very personalized, and you can easily internalize those concepts and ideas. It really learns you how to be a leader in the future, not just do something that you need to for living, right? You need to have a higher perspective to look at things. Those really helped me during my internship to talk to my boss and to organize things well. So I strongly recommend that class to you guys. And the third thing, quantitative side, I think we also had analytics, data visualization, a lot of quantitative courses to prepare you for that kind of skills. So because I came from history background, I did journalism before my MBA. So taking those classes really helped me a lot. Right now I'm comfortable with Excel and those data things. That's one big thing. And the next big thing is to prioritize things, to learn to plan your schedule even every day to maximize your time. How many time you're going to put in your class, in networking, social, in your student activity. So you're a boss on your own, right? Starting from your MBA. So those are three big things I enjoy most. Yeah,
Great.
Thank you.
Terrific, thanks. Matt, let's go for you next.
So I think the best part about the program is the friends that I've made. Everywhere. So, and especially I live with two of my classmates. We
I think we lost you there, Matt.
Try again, Matt.
Could you not hear me?
Yeah, you froze after just a second.
Oh, okay. So I was saying that my favorite part of the program are the relationships I built and the friends I made. I was especially saying that I live with two of my classmates. We've shared a house for the past year and a half, and just that sense of community I think is really unique and special.
All right, terrific. Faith.
Kind of the same. Has to be the people. I laughed a little bit when somebody asked, what are some of the things you do outside of class with your classmates? And there's rarely a night that I'm not spending time with my classmates. They're everywhere. It's kind of crazy, but like Terrell said, we're like a family. There's so many different kinds of people who are interested in different things. I think the very first weekend we were here, we all drove up to Lake Michigan. It's only about 45 minutes away, and spent a day on the beach. And then there are people who play broomball and rec sports, and then there are obviously tailgates for football games. People go to hockey games, basketball games. People sometimes like to study together, but just that everyone's been so fun and funny and nice, and there's not a bad one in the bunch. So that has to be the reason.
Terrific. Terrell, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I had to point to just two things, I think my first one would be the very first thing that we did when we got here to campus, and that's ILD, the Integral Leadership Development. I mean, it went, a long way to helping me understand my values, to helping me understand what I care about, what I need to work on as a professional, what I'm already really good at, and all it really helped set, I guess, a foundation or a path for me to practice the things in the next 2 years to be the leader that I really want to become when I graduate with my MBA. And just to kind of drive home the point, my second thing is truly the people here. I was talking to Faith before everybody, before everybody jumped on the call here, and it's just like, I don't know what I want to do without you guys for the next month. I mean, I'm really going to miss these guys. They have become a part of my everyday life in ways that I didn't even imagine. So the people here, are, truly my family, and they go a long way to enriching me, not just as a student or professional, but go a long way to making me a better man every single day.
All right, terrific. And last but not least, Martin, you get to close us out. Favorite thing.
First would be the community, and the way I explain it is, we are a small, tight-knit community, about 130 per cohort, and that small community, at some point in the future, during the 2 years that you're going to be here, or 1 year you're going to be here, you will have to interact with each other at least twice during that time. And that, I think, is the way, the nature of the relationship becomes less transactional and more like give and take, in the sense that if I want to continue to have success in the program, and if I have to be successful outside of the program, I would have to be with these people and have to work well with them. So I think there's a check there that makes it less transactional. Number two, there's the friendships, and I think I'm coming from the background that I've worked for a long time before going to my MBA, and what I really love about pursuing an MBA is the breather that it has for your career. This might be the last time you're ever going to have a breather from work, and I will cherish that a lot, because at this point, it's not just that you're improving your business network, but you're improving your personal network. I don't think in any point of your life, within a year, you'll gain 200 new business and personal contacts. I don't think any point, unless that's your work where you're in PR. But I don't think that there's any point in your life that that's going to happen. So this is really an exponential year for you. So that's what I love about it so far, that the way it has helped me gain that breather and also gain a lot of relationships out of that. The last thing I think is with regard to the classes. So it's really about the effort that you put into it and how much sometimes suspension of disbelief you have to put. For example, in one of our classes, we had to propose a redesign of a hospital lobby. And that seems like that's something you can slack off, or that's something that you can really take seriously. And it's really about my willingness to sometimes suspend disbelief, suspend the cynicism that would help you. And for most part of your life, you're going to be more jaded. And if there's any point in my life where I suspended my being jaded, this is this year. This is the past year and a half. And I think that was what was very lovely about it, that I actually did not become more skeptical and did not become more jaded after many years of working. I think that's something I would take away from my stay here in MBA.
All right, terrific. So we'll close there. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. And special thanks to all of our panelists. As the panelists all said, the community is a really important piece of the experience here, and so it's always great to have students that are willing to jump on this from all corners of the country. And and spend an hour just talking about Notre Dame and their experience. So very special thank you to all of you, and enjoy your break. For everyone else out there that's listening, don't forget that our round 2 deadline is coming up on January 9th. So we've got a nice opportunity kind of over the holidays, tighten up the essays, and get those letters of recommendation headed this way. So be looking for more information from us on that as we get a little closer in. We do still have a couple open questions here, and I'll type some responses to those as we finish up, but we'll leave it there for tonight. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be in touch with you soon. Have a good night.